Hey Flosstube, this is Kim back again with another cross-stitching update. You can find me on Instagram at @Stitcher. And today is video number 88. It is the 28th of September 2020. Only a couple days left in the month and then we're into October. I worked on 3 different pieces this week, so let's get to it. I've got lots to tell you. So, first piece I worked on was to get my page finished like I wanted on a Supersized Color Expansion Museum Shelf, finishing up this page right here. So, actually this page. So we have T-Rex foot and the first half of the pylon with rope and more fern on that one. So now I have 5 full pages and 5 partial pages complete on this. That was my 4 for the year plus the one that I did last year. So I did this where this blue mark is. I did all of that the first year, and then I did all of this in 2020. So that is over 40,010 stitches in a year. And I looked at, since I keep track of the days, how many days I work on something. I've got 66 total days on this piece so far. 49 of those were in 2020. So I've worked on it every single month except for June, a little bit each month, and got those 4 pages done. And there's a little bit closer up on that page. So there we go. And again, I have a long way to go. But the next page, I'll start to get into the staircase. So I'm looking forward to that. But that's my goal complete for it this year. Who knows if I'll get to it. I'd like to try to reach my goals on the rest of the pieces that I haven't reached yet. But we'll see if I get back to it this year or not. So the next time I work on it, I'll start on the staircases because it's this page right there. So that is Museum Shelf. And then I worked on a summer ball, like I told you. I had some other things where it was convenient to bring a piece that packed up well. And the good news is, it's not out of print. You can still get this chart, and I found out where to get it. I've always linked the designer's Facebook page below, and I know she has some of her charts in the shop on the Facebook page. She didn't have this one, so I thought you couldn't get it. And she's no longer doing the Patreon that she did for like a year and a half. But if you scroll down on that designer's Facebook page, again, the link is below. The third post down, she has a link to a website where you can just pay the 5 British pounds and get the chart digitally. For some reason, I think it says in her post, Facebook wouldn't let her upload this particular chart to the Facebook shop. She also has some other charts that she hasn't put in the Facebook shop, like a Victorian Christmas Eve. That was the first one that I stitched. I have a short finish clip. Is probably like my first public video on this channel if you want to see Victorian Christmas Eve. And they're only like 5 pounds for this huge chart. So you can get this chart. I am on page 3, so I'll show you where the halfway mark is on the page. I put in 900 more stitches, and I'm now feeling a lot better about trying to get the page done this year. So I only wanted to get 1 page done for 2020. But before this, I was still a ways away. And now, there's the whole thing so far. I've got it off the key snap so you can see it. So page 1 and 2 are done. Backstitch is done on those pages. I haven't done any of the backstitch yet on page 3. So what I did this week, those 900 stitches, I did more of this green background in between the people's heads, and I brought it up here, and I did the gold picture frame, and I started on the dark brown color in the picture frame. I have not finished that color. I also have to, it's also used in some of their hair. So now all of this is done. So I finished up the little bits of green background over here. So now in November, when I work on this piece for Around the World in Full Coverage Fanatics for United Kingdom, because she is a British designer, all I have to do is fill in this painting, do their faces and heads, and you know, from the bust line up on some of them, and the back stitching. So a very achievable goal now going into the last quarter of the month. So that is a summer ball. I will link the designer's Facebook page. I'll also try to link the actual payment site that her post links to. So if you don't want to go to the Facebook page, you can just click on the link below, and it'll take you to the page where you can see the design. It'll show you the stitch count and that kind of thing before you actually purchase it. So that'll be below in the description. Then the last thing I worked on Saturday and Sunday, and I'm going to continue to work on it, is I'm starting to feel the Halloween. We put our Halloween decorations up. So I've got Trick or Treat is hanging in the hallway, since I have all the black done, along with some other of my Halloween finishes, some Glendon Place pieces, and I have a Joan Elliott piece that's in a different spot in the house. So it just came to the conclusion I needed more Halloween stuff. So it's a good thing. I'm planning to start 2 more Halloween pieces in October. And then, of course, this one, Witchy Tea Time by the Primitive Hair, is my other Halloween whip. So I put this on the Q-snap and have worked on it the last 2 days. And I plan on working on it some more while we wait for the 1st of October. So this, you can get the pattern on its own now. You don't have to buy the magazine. But it was originally in the 2014 Just Cross Stitch Halloween edition. Now, last time you saw it, I had this part done, and I was taking the top borders, both the orange and the black, over, but I still had about this much border to go. So I have finished the border. I've done this cup, which you can't see right now because it's still in the Q-snap. And last night, I stitched out Witchy Tea Time. The one difference you'll see is that here in the model, some of those letters, that is not a variegated, I mean, it is kind of variegated thread, but the stripes that you see in those letters are charted that way. That is 2 different colors of floss, black and the green, which I've substituted out. I don't care for it, because it's not just in the W and the T, it's also in the word T. So I changed it. I went all straight black, none of the green in the lettering. So again, it's in the Q-snap because I'm still going to work on it. But there you go. And I have it turned up so I can, because I started down here. But the entire border is done, or top border is done with the little squares up there that you can't really see. This is Witchy Tea Time. I like that much better than the stripy green and black letters. And then here is the first witch's hat that I've started on. This fabric that I got from Anne, Fiber, Floss, and Fiction podcast. She gave it to me for this design. It is color and cotton, 32 count Salem. It's a linen, so 32 count Belfast and Salem. And it's not really purple, it's gray. Mostly gray. So it's one of those where I'm sitting right underneath the hot light and looking at it closely so I can get my stitches in. So that is Witchy Tea Time. My goal for this one for 2020 was to get half of it done. It seems quite a bit, but I mean, guys, it's only 3 colors, and there's massive blocks of black. So I've got the witch down to the orange stripe on her hat, and I'm just going to keep going and work on this some more. Let's see, today's the 28th. That gives me 3 more days on it, and I've only worked on it 2 other days this year, so it's in desperate need of some attention. I'm going to give it some attention. So those are the 3 pieces I worked on this week. Plans, again, witchy tea time. The 1st of October means the October Familiar comes out for the Catalog of Witches Familiar Sal by Ingleside Imaginarium, so I'll get to work on that. And then the Out of the Stash at Last starts with Julie from Reflections Framing and Stitching. She'll be linked below. I'm not quite sure which of the 4 I'm going to start yet, since I have been doing non-full coverage the last few days. I might start the Haid QS Wizard first, because even though it's not full coverage, it's stitching like it's full coverage just because it's tent stitch and it's only 14 colors. It'll move quickly. 14 or 15 colors. So we'll see, because I do have homework. I need to grid that one out so I can start it in the proper spot. And then for Around the World in Full Coverage Fanatics for October, we're visiting Russia. So my piece for October will be Card Sharp, which I didn't bring up a picture, but Card Sharp by Omar Rayan. That's the piece I started earlier this year, so it doesn't even, it's got like 2,500 stitches on it so far. I chose that one because, and I have notes since it's extensive in here. Playing cards were introduced in Russia in the late 17th century and were subsequently banned. The legal code of 1649 is what banned actually using playing cards, and the punishment was a lashing. Although the ban was ignored after or during and after Peter the Great's reign. Russian decks have 32 to 36 cards, as opposed to the French deck that most of the world uses that has 52 cards. So that is my reasoning, or my link for using Card Sharp to visit Russia, because it is animals playing cards. So, one thing I forgot to tell you on a summer ball that you should know about if you're interested in this pattern that you may not have seen before in a pattern, but I've seen it in both the summer ball and Victorian Christmas Eve. Sometimes she uses, I hesitate to call them half stitches, because in our terms a half stitch is just one leg of the cross, but these are a fractional that's like a half stitch. So what you'll see on the chart, this is one square out of the grid. You'll see 2 symbols like this. Normally for a fractional stitch you'd see a symbol up in the corner, and then there'd be like a backstitch line across it. But this is 1 square and 2 symbols squeezed into that area. So what you need to do for that, these being the 4 corners of where a regular cross stitch would be across all 4 corners, much easier to do this on even weave or linen. You're going to do 2 tall and skinny cross stitches in those colors in the space of 1 cross stitch. So something you may not have seen before, but they do use it in their charts. Let's see if I can. It's going to be hard to see, but right here where this person's face is going to be, I got to move my face out so it'll focus. You see that tall, skinny, those 2 green ones on the far side of the grid line? So that's where I've got 2 tall and skinny half stitches. It's a full X, but it's only half the width of a regular X. And that's because that person's face is going to come into or her hair. That's for the girl in the lavender dress. So she's facing this way, and her face and hair are going to come into that space. So again, it's just something to add more detail when your space is small because she's further away. So 2 tall and skinny X's in the space of 1 regular square. And I only highlight that because as I was looking at the designer's Facebook page and looking at their posts where they linked where to get these patterns, someone had asked, how do I do this? So thought, here's a perfect time to talk about it. Let's see, what other stitching content do I have? Haid has started a 50% off sale today that goes through midnight Pacific time zone on September 30th. So if you watch my video before then, Haid has a 50% off sale. I say that because I know some people aren't in the Facebook group and they don't get see all the posts about it. All right, the rest I have some life updates and then Air Force story. So if you're only interested in the stitching, we'll see you later. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next week. Life updates. This past week was a little interesting. On Wednesday, I had gone to the commissary and bought groceries and was back home and putting them away. And then I heard the giant voice system, which are like these, what it sounds like. There's towers with speakers that go all around the base because every single weekday they play Reveille at 7:30 and Retreat at 5 and Taps at 9 o'clock at night. Besides that, the giant voice system is there to give us warnings for if there's lightning within 5 nautical miles, if there's a tornado warning, you name it, the giant voice system is there. It's also there to tell people what to do when the base is running exercises, because the only way to be ready for certain things is to practice to be ready for certain things. So Wednesday, the security forces was running a active shooter exercise. So when I was putting groceries away, the warbling siren went off. And this is something that you can hear inside your home. So it's loud enough where it you can, there's enough speaker towers all around the base where you can hear it inside the building, or at least inside the homes. Some of the work buildings on base, you may not be able to hear it, but they have other sound systems they can use for inside the buildings. So a warbling siren. And immediately, they didn't say anything on the giant voice. It was just the siren. So we start texting the neighborhood moms. We have a group text. We start texting what's going on. And one of them said, it's an active shooter exercise. Don't worry about it unless you're out and about. If you're in your home, you'll be fine. But then there was confusion because the command post that sends out the notification messages made a mistake and said it was real world active shooter exercise or real world active shooter, and the shooter was at the shop at, which is like our gas station and liquor store, convenience store, liquor store. Now there was someone who was pretending to be an active shooter because it's an exercise. You need to have a bad guy. So there was confusion. Husbands of, our neighborhood moms were sending messages home to their wives, and we're all exchanging information. We really didn't know what to do. So everyone, lock your doors, close your blinds. We don't know what's going on. It's probably at that time when there's supposed to be an exercise, but then there's different information. Most likely is a mistake. Because we know the security measures to get on base, and they're more extreme here at this base for reasons. So it's just stay in your house and wait. Knowing also that there's 2 elementary schools and a middle school on the base, I'm thinking about my 5-year-old in kindergarten who's probably panicking because the school will run their appropriate drill at the same time. Come to find out, in kindergarten, they did do the drill. They called it a lockdown. They did not fully explain and left it up to the parents. Afterwards, they sent a message through an app to explain what was going on. and my daughter did cry a little bit, but they handled it. They did what they were supposed to do. So that was the excitement. It was only about half an hour, 45 minutes before the giant voice went off, and they said all clear, many, many times to make sure everyone knew it was all clear. The exercise was over. So one example to show you why we need more exercises, because the mistakes that were made. And then the other thing that happened this weekend is Spencer had a show with my friend down in Louisiana. It was his first show since March, right around when the lockdown was happening. So he hasn't shown in 6 months, hasn't been off the property in 6 months. My friend has just been practicing at home and riding at home, and they kicked butt. They scored higher than they've ever scored. She's shown two other quarter horses at third level dressage, and Spencer has now beaten those scores, so he is her highest scoring horse that she's taken. And she did third level test 3. There's 3 tests at each level, and this was the first time she rode test 3 in a show, and she scored even better than the test 2. And the judge on the judging sheet really liked his impulsion and other things. So really, really good news for Spencer and my friend. And again, they're not trying to accomplish anything. They're having fun. They're seeing how far they can go. Okay, Air Force story. I don't have any pictures for this one, so it'll be fairly quick. I've told you that there were 6 B-52s that were deployed to RAF Fairford in the United Kingdom. They've been there several weeks now, and I've told other stories in previous videos about encounters with Russian air forces and different exercises they were doing with NATO. Well, they ran one more before they returned. This past weekend they returned. So on Wednesday, B-52 with the call sign Hero 31 flew over the Black Sea and into Ukrainian airspace, and it ran a mock attack run on the Ukrainian city of Odessa before turning and heading toward Romanian airspace. During this time, they also joined up with some Ukrainian fighters, so Ukrainians and Romanians knew this was a mock exercise. At the same time, so B-52, distraction. At the same time, 5 NATO spy planes, not just the US, but NATO, flew over the Black Sea. They were not hiding. They had their transponders on. Anyone with civilian, radio that can listen to air traffic could hear what they were doing. So it's not like they were stealth and were trying to hide. So 5 NATO spy planes. By that we just mean they have extra sensors and things that can look at what's going on the ground. They flew over in international waters over the Black Sea and were looking presumably at the Russians. Let's see. There was 2 RC-135Ws. One was US and one was Royal Air Force out of the UK. An RC-135U model from the US, a US Navy P-8, and an RAF Sentinel. Now, all these aircraft have, like I said, electronic sensors. They can look at radar, ground radars, ships, vehicles, air defense systems, and they can listen to radio communications from whatever section they are looking at. And this is not unprovoked. Like I said, Russia and the US just keep poking each other. So that's what happened on September 23rd. On September 16th, Russia had sent 2 bombers thousands of miles from their home base to fly over the Black Sea into, just kind of to poke back. And also Russia has held large-scale exercises to have a mock amphibious assault in the Arctic, and they also have moved troops near their border with Belarus. So it's a whole bunch of bluffing and poking and seeing what happens right now. As I said, those 6 airplanes, 6 B-52s that we had in England have returned this weekend, so they're back. But this is not the end of things. I might be able to tell you more later, hopefully after it happens. But I do know of some other exercises and things that we will be doing here from North Dakota. So just interesting world events going on. Tomorrow night is the first presidential debate, so I encourage everyone to watch that. I forgot what time it's at, but I don't imagine you'll be able to miss it if you turn on the TV. I think there's 3 total that are scheduled. So tomorrow is the first one. I hope everybody has a good stitching week, and I will talk to you later, guys. Bye.